William the Crackshot Kid. William kept his eye on the old tin. It was balanced on the lowest branch of the lightning tree which stood in the far corner of his garden. Carefully he drew back the elastic band. The pebbles shot out of his catapult and seared through the air. Ping! The tin flew off the branch. "Wow," breathed Chris. "Brilliant shot." "William," came his mum's voice. "Come in now. It's beginning to get dark." "Go quick," William whispered to his friend Chris, "before she sees you." And as Chris scrambled off through the gap in the fence, William hurried indoors. His mum was still standing by the kitchen window. "Poor old apple tree," she said quietly. William's dad spoke in a grave voice. "Forget about the tree. It's been struck by lightning and there's nothing anyone can do to save it now." Up in his bedroom, William looked out of the window. In the gloom, he could just make out the lightning tree, dark and charred at the bottom of the garden, its craggy branches bent and gnarled like giant witches' fingers. Some of them pointed over the fence into Chris's garden, and the ones at the back dropped brittle twigs onto Mrs. Green's neat lawn. Mrs. Green's cat, Greg, had fallen ill the very day lightning struck the tree. Poor old Greg. He lay flopped out on the sitting room windowsill. When it was daytime, William could just make out the tufts and clumps of his scrawny form. The day after the tree was struck, William had shot a pebble from his catapult straight through next door's kitchen window. Chris's dad had gone mad and said that Chris and William weren't to play together anymore. So since then the two boys had had to meet in secret. All this illness and sadness and crossness, William's mum kept saying. Fancy not being friends with your neighbours. Then she would shake her head. And no more apples from the poor old tree ever again. But that night, as William stared out of his bedroom window, he got a shock. What? I don't believe it. It can't be. It was difficult to tell in the half-light, but what was that hanging from the very top branch of the tree? William gasped. How could an apple have grown on a dead tree? The moment it was light, William rushed outside and stood beneath the lightning tree. His eyes widened as he looked up. There was no doubt about it now. Above him hung a mottled green and red, gleaming apple. "What are you looking at?" said Chris from his side of the fence. He followed William's gaze, and when he saw the apple, started yelling and pointing. "Dad, come here! There's an apple on the lightning tree!" Chris's dad came running out of the house at the same time as William's mum and dad. From her sitting room window, Mrs. Green saw the little crowd standing round the old lightning tree. Whatever was going on? She slipped out of the back door and hurried down to see. It's a lucky charm, she breathed as she gazed up at the apple eyes gleaming. And look, it's on the branch that's hanging over my garden. This tree belongs to us, said William's dad coldly. If there's good luck to be had, it should be ours. Chris's dad spoke in a low voice. It was my grandfather who planted the tree in the first place. William couldn't believe what he was hearing. The adults were arguing over an apple. One little apple and they'd all gone mad. No one even noticed as he crept back inside the house and went up to his room. There he stood at the open window and watched and listened. Even Chris was joining in with the argument, saying he was going to climb up the tree and get the apple for himself because he deserved the luck. His dad shook his head. That tree'll break if you climb it. Look at it, dry as string. Only there were more apples, thought William. Then everyone could have a bit of the luck. That gave him an idea. He picked up his piggy bank and emptied it out onto the bed. Amongst the silver pieces lay a £2 coin. William took the catapult from his bedside table and went back to the window. Down below, nobody noticed. The next bit needed great concentration. Carefully placing the coin in the catapult, William took aim. Then he pulled the elastic back as far as it would go. Ping! The coin cut through the air, gleaming and gold. Everyone gasped. There was a sharp thwack. The apple exploded, and out of its centre came dark, copper, glinting pips that shot and showered and scattered like sparks from a Catherine wheel. Incredible! Amazing! Brilliant! Everyone cried as they stood wide-eyed under the golden shower. Some of the neighbours heard the shouting and came hurrying to see what was happening. "William's a crackshot kid! He split the lucky apple," said Chris proudly. Then he stopped and stared at the tree. Gasps rose from the crowd. Glittering streams of bright apple juice were trickling over the high branches, painting them gold. Everywhere buzzed with the news of the miracle tree. More and more people came to look. They stared in amazement as the liquid fell in sparkling drops, coating the lower branches. In no time at all, the journalists were out in full force. As the cameras flashed, the glistening liquid rose up and dissolved into thin air, and the frail dark branches grew strong and supple as though touched by magic. Then into the middle of the incredible scene stepped a beautiful, sleek cat. "It's Greg!" cried Mrs. Green. "He's better!" Everyone cheered, even Chris's dad. "Your boy certainly is a crack shot with that catapult," he said to William's parents. Then the three adults shook hands. Chris couldn't believe his eyes. Wow, they're friends again. At long last, grinned William.